Hey, how's it going, folks? ET here with another tutorial. Today's tutorial is iMovie for beginners. Let's get started. First thing you're going to do is actually open up iMovie. And we have a blank slate here. We have nothing. Let's create a new project. You can do so by clicking on this button here, or you can go to the File menu and click on New Movie. But let's use the icon. Then we're going to select Movie. Okay, so here you have the iMovie interface, and we are on version 10.1.14. So this tutorial should be good for a long time into the future. And if Apple changes anything, I'll make a brand new version of it. Okay, first thing we need to do is figure out how to import media. There's several ways to do it. You have a nice button right here. There's also a button right here. You can go to the File menu, Import Media. Or you can just drag the clip straight into the timeline. Okay, I'm going to delete that though. Okay, I'm going to import media. Let's go ahead and click here. I'm going to locate my media. It's on my desktop. It's in my iMovie for beginners. And I have a whole bunch of clips here. So let's go ahead and grab that all the way to here. So what you do is you just select the top one and then you go all the way to the bottom. You hold the Shift key and it'll highlight everything if you didn't know that. Let's go ahead and import all. All right, now we have our media in our library here. If you need to control the look and feel, go ahead and click on this icon here. You can make the clip size bigger, smaller, and you can make the length of the videos in here longer or shorter, depending. And of course, if you want to keep the waveforms visible, I usually like to see them. That way I know if there's any usable audio or not. Alrighty, so we've done that. We've imported media. What do we do next? We're going to drag some media into the timeline and get started on the edit. All right, first we'll grab this clip here. We're just going to do the simple way. Click and drag with your mouse or your trackpad and drop it into the timeline. Okay, we have a 11.7 second clip here. I think it's entirely too long. So the first editing we're going to do is grab the end here and we're going to drag it all the way in to about the 4 or 5 second mark. There we go. And you can do that on either end. So that's simple resizing type editing. Next, I'm going to show you another way to actually get the video into the timeline. You're going to click on the video itself. You're going to hit that plus sign. But make sure your scrubber or your timeline is exactly where you want that video to go. And we're going to hit that plus. It's going to drop it right down there for us. All right, this clip is 9.1 seconds, so that's entirely too long. Right now I'm going to scrub through with my mouse or my trackpad just to see what it is. And in this video clip, we're just showing the actual tire size. So it doesn't have to be that long. It could probably be 3 or 4 seconds as well. So I'll just grab a piece here. This time we're going to do a right click and we're going to split that clip right there. And we're going to delete the other piece. And yeah, it looks good enough for there. Moving on to the third clip here. This time I want to look at it in the timeline. So you notice when I'm scrubbing, you can see what's happening in the player there. So that makes it a lot easier to not bring the whole clip in. That way you don't have to edit in the timeline. You can just bring pretty much what you want. And I'm going to grab these handles here and make it a little bit smaller. It's 10 seconds now. So let's do a little bit here. And a little bit there. Okay, that looks good. This time I'm going to just drag it down there. My timeline's starting to get a little bit long, but what I want to do is shorten it up by using this slider here. That way I can see more clips at a time. And you can make it longer or shorter. It won't affect the length of the video, just the display itself here. Also, I don't like it this small. I'm going to go to my settings and I'll bump up the clip size here. So it's a little bit easier for me to see and for you to see in this tutorial. And I always like my waveform showing by making sure the checkbox is checked. Okay. All right, so we have 3 clips here. Let's move on to the next one. This time, same thing. I don't need the whole thing, but I do want the beginning. So what I'm going to do is use an I key and an O key. The I for in, the O for out. The beginning I'm pretty happy with, so I'll leave that the way it is. Just a little bit in, I'll hit the I. And then on the way out where I want it to stop, right there, I'll hit the O. You'll notice it's highlighting that area only. I'm gonna hit the plus, it'll drop it down into the timeline for us. So we're doing good, we're doing good. Next, let's move to the next clip here. This is a 7.6 second clip. We don't need that much. I'll do the same thing. This time I'm going to use my mouse. I'm going to click and drag the little bracket thing here, the little tool. And I think that's more than good enough right there. We're going to drag that in, make it a little bit smaller so we can add more clips. Next, the gooseneck is 8.4, doesn't need to be, so let's do an in and an out right there, drag that in. Handlebar, I kind of like this one. And I want to mess with that in the timeline, so I'm just going to add it as it is. Oops, did it twice, so let's go ahead and delete that. Next, the seat and the seat post. Let's scroll over here to right there. We'll hit the O for out. I'm gonna add that one. Okay, and for the rest of these clips, I'm gonna fast forward while I go ahead and drop these into the timeline for you. Okay, and we're back. I've done all my initial editing. Let me make this a little bit smaller so you can see what we're working with here. We have all of our clips ready in the timeline. And this again is the initial quick edit, just to get it to a general cut of the way I kind of want it to be. And I'll scroll through here slowly just to kind of show you what's happening here. Okay, just cut through. Most of the clips you want to try to keep to 5 seconds or less. If you notice, if you watch like TV or movies, pretty much any movement or cut is 5 seconds or less, you know, and these days really quick. So I'm trying to keep these clips as short as possible, 4, 5 seconds, 3 seconds sometimes. All right, so next, let's go ahead and add some titles to our project here. We're gonna go to the titles menu here, click on that. I wanna put one at the beginning. Gonna grab that and drag it to the beginning, and we're looking for that big purple size clip. If it's on top, it's going to be smaller, but if you want it in the front or in the middle, you got to keep it on the larger size. Okay, let's put it in the front. I'm going to double click, going to go in here with our mouse and edit this. We'll call it My GT Mountain Bike. Oops. Mountain Bike. Okay. I'm going to highlight this and do a little editing here. I want to change the font to this one. I want to take off the outline and I'll leave it white. So we're good to go. We'll hit the check mark here to actually keep it. You can reset by hitting the reset here. All right, let's have a look. It's 4 seconds long, which is entirely too long and I actually don't like. Oh, let's change it. I got an idea. How about this? My GT, that's better. Okay, and 4 seconds is entirely too long. So what I'm gonna do is right click, split it. It's about 2 each, so we'll delete the 1.9. And now we have a 2.1 second title there. So from the title to the first clip, it's an abrupt cut. And I wanna do a little transition. So let's go ahead and grab a transition here. And I'll probably just do a generic cross dissolve. We'll drag that down here. It's set to 1 second. Let's go ahead and have a look. Maybe a little bit long. We'll double click on it, resize it to 0.5, I think. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, that's better, I think. Yeah, and just to take note, transitions can only be as long as the 2 clips. So we only have 1.3 seconds here to work with, and on this side 3.5. So you can't make this thing 5.0. iMovie's going to tell you no. So just to let you know that. We'll keep it as it is. We'll apply it there. And you can also add transitions to the beginning. So sometimes I'll use this cross zoom here to give it a little effect. There we go. And now let me go ahead and finish adding transitions through this whole project here. I'm going to go ahead and keep it simple and just add the cross dissolve to everything here. So we'll be right back. I'll fast forward this. And we're back. And before I put this last transition here, I'm going to grab a title. We'll grab that same centered one, drag it at the bottom, double click on it, highlight it, delete it, and put the end explanation points. Okay, I'm going to highlight that, change the font to the one we had earlier. I think it was this one. Yeah. And take that outline, maybe bump up the size a little bit to 124. Maybe bigger than that, 160. How about that? There we go. And we'll go ahead and accept it. So we don't have a transition here. It's the end of the video and then straight to title. But I want to add a fade to black. So let's go back to those transitions. We'll do a fade to black, or you could use cross dissolve too. I want to add fade to black. You could use cross blur, cross dissolve, it wouldn't matter. Let's grab this one, drop it right here. There we go. And at the end, I'm going to leave it just as it is because it's a black title and it fades out automatically. So we're good to go there. Let's go back to the front and I want to put a title. We put one before, we put one at the end. And I showed you, you can actually drop titles in between as well. So let's go ahead and do that example. I'll grab here. And make sure you keep holding it till it becomes a clip within the timeline. So now we can title this, we'll just call it The Big Tires. Okay, we'll accept that. Okay, so we have titles in the front, in the back, in the middle. Now we need some that are actually on the screen, so like lower third, subtitles, top corner, etc. So let's go ahead and grab a title in a different location. And we'll grab an upper, and we'll put this one right here. You'll notice you can drag it pretty much anywhere you want it to. Okay, we'll put it at the beginning. Let me stretch this out a little bit for us so we can see better. And it's overlapping to the second clip, so let's make it a little bit shorter. And the title appears at the top corner. So let me stretch this a little longer so you can see the example here. I double click, I'm gonna go in here, edit this. Highlight that, take that border off, change to a different font. And go to 8, go to 140, change the color as well. Let's go blue. Let's try that. No, it doesn't show up. Probably white's better. Let's go to white. There we go. Or yellow. Yellow could work. How about yellow? Let's try that. Yeah, good enough. If you notice, the title will carry across clips here. The longer you make it, you can make it longer or shorter. It'll always be there. But let's go ahead and make this shorter. And we'll move it just a little bit. And you can move it anywhere you need to, but let's move it halfway so we see the clip with and without the title. Here we go. One limitation in the titling functionality is you can't have stacked titles, basically. So if I wanted to grab another one and put it here, it's not going to let me. It'll let me put them next to each other really close, like right up against each other. But the minute I try to drag it on top, it's going to try to move it over or divide it. So that's one of the limitations of iMovie. Of course, you can put as many as you want. You can just grab whatever and just keep going and make them shorter, longer, put space, no space. So the functionality for like doing subtitles and things like that is there if you need it. But the limitation is you can't stack them more than one, unfortunately. So let's delete these titles. All right, so we've taken care of titles. We got them in the front, we got them in the back. We got them as clips in between, like a chapter marker kind of thing. So we're doing pretty good here. All right, next let's go back to our media. And this time I want to do a little picture in a picture on top of this clip here. I'm going to take this GT picture, it's a logo, it's a picture I grabbed from their website. I'm going to drag it and hold it and put it right on top. Okay, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And let's expand out the timeline here so we can see better. And I'll make it bigger for you. Okay, so now we have a layer on top. So anytime there's a layer on top, it's going to be covering it. It switches and then it comes back. This is kind of what they call B-roll. So you do your A-roll and then B-roll and then back to A-roll. But we want to make this picture in a picture. So we're going to double click here. We're going to go to this first icon, which is the video overlay settings. Click on that. Go down to picture in a picture. And now iMovie has made it another layer that we can move around and we can resize and do a little bit of customization. But let's put this down here at the bottom. We're going to add a border to it. We're going to make it white. And we'll even drop a shadow on it. Why not? So let's have a quick look. And you can control the fade in, the fade out by grabbing these controllers here and dragging left or right. So let's do that. Another thing you can do is with this highlighted, by double clicking, you can go to the transition area up here and change it from dissolve to zoom to swap. Let's go ahead and go to zoom. Okay, so you see it zooms in from the side, but let's change the position of this thing and see what happens with our zoom. So let's go ahead and try that. You can do a swap, and it's more of a big to small, small to big type transition, so it can be pretty cool actually. I kind of like it sometimes. But for this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and put it back to picture in a picture, and we're going to do zoom. So let me make sure it's a little bit smaller so it's not covering the bike. I do have a drop shadow. I have a white small border. You can make it bigger and change the color if you'd like. But let's keep it like that and check the box for accepting it. And there it is. Okay, so that's how you do picture in a picture. Can be done with video or with an image, it doesn't matter. All right, let me shrink this back up a little bit so we figure out where we're going. Okay, next let me show you some zooming and cropping functionality. So we're going to select a clip here. We're going to go to this cropping tool here. And you can do several things. You can do crop to fill or Ken Burns. But what I want to do is I want to get to a certain point in this video, and I'm going to split this clip right about there. And now it's become two clips, but the second clip I want to zoom in. So we're going to go back to our cropping tool. We're going to do crop to fill. And I want to kind of just zoom it in a little bit. So let's go ahead and do that. And now let's have a quick look at that. So it's regular, regular, regular. And then zoomed in a little bit. Okay, and I might even want to add a quick transition here. So let's do this cross zoom here. Make that 0.5, make it as quick as we can. Okay, so use your imagination if you like it. If not, delete it and just have it be like a jump cut. Okay, so that's how you do a zoom. There's another thing you can do is kind of a Ken Burns effect, and I'll show you that. Let me go ahead and open this clip up here by double clicking on it, going to the cropping tool, hitting Ken Burns. And what Ken Burns lets you do is it lets you have a start point and an end point. So the start point, I'm going to make it full screen. The end point itself, I'm going to focus on this triple triangle design part. So once you got it to where you want it, go ahead and hit that check mark here to accept it. Or you can click anywhere else, it'll accept it, but we'll do that. Now let's have a quick look. You'll notice it starts there and it goes in. And that is called the Ken Burns effect. If you want to undo it, you go back to your cropping tool and you just hit fit. Okay, but let's leave it as it is. Okay, good, good, good. All right, next let's do some slow motion. Right now the clip looks like this, but I kind of have an idea of what I want to do with it. I'm going to hit the R key on the keyboard. I'm going to hold it down, and then I'm going to drag to the left, which brings out our little selection tool. Once I have the area selected I want, then I'm going to go up to the speedometer up here, the speed icon. I'm going to go to the drop down. I'm going to hit slow, and I think 10% is probably good enough. And then it speeds up again once it's finished with that area. Okay. If you need to make it slower or faster, you have sliders here where you can slow it down or you can actually speed it up. And the more you drag it out, the slower it gets, the tortoise. The more you bring it to the left, it turns into a hare and it gets faster. So let's go ahead and drag it out to make it slower. There you go. So that's how you do slow motion. And while we're at it, let me show you how to do fast forward or fast motion. For my demonstration of fast motion, I have a clip here where I was really close to the bike and I kind of walked back. And what I want to do is make this kind of a speed ramp. So I'm going to fast forward the majority of this clip really quickly, and then it's going to slow down to normal speed. So I'm going to do almost 3/4 of it. And what I'll do this time is you can still use the I for in and the O for out. So I'll hit the O key, and now my brackets are in the area where I want to be fast forwarded. And I'm going to go up to the speedometer. This time, you can either go to fast where you can get 2, 4, 8, 20. Or really, I want to go custom because I want this to be crazy fast. So I'm going to do like 1200%. Then just hit enter. And now let's go ahead and look at it. Once you set your initial percentage, you can actually go in with these sliders here and kind of fine tune the way you want it to look. So what I've been doing is kind of messing around here, trying to get it to look the way I want it to. And after I get it to where I kind of want it to look, I'm going to add a sound effect. I think that's good. So let's go ahead and add a sound effect. And while we're talking sound, you'll notice you see a line here. And I won't want this sound to actually come out. So I'm going to turn the volume all the way down to 0 by dragging on that. That allows me to turn all this sound down completely. But for now, let's focus on adding our sound effect to our little speed ramp transition here. Okay, so I'm going to go into audio and I'm going to search for a rewind. So let's listen. Okay, so that sounds good. I'm going to take this audio clip here. I'm going to drag it down below. I'm going to want the sound effect to be exactly where the transition is happening. So I'm going to chop this up a lot. What I'll do is I'll just drag it in here and drag it a little bit. Try to get it to where I want it. A little bit too long. Shorten it up. A little bit more, and I'm going to make this bigger so I can get more fine detail here. Maybe a little bit shorter. Yeah, I think that's good enough there. So we added a sound effect. If you need it louder or quieter, you just drag it up or down. I think we'll keep it pretty much 100. Yeah, that looks good. Something like that. You could do like a swoosh or a golf swing or anything like that. But I usually use the fast forward. And depending on how fast you want, you got to shorten this up shorter and shorter. Just make it match the actual transition. Now what I would say is next time I probably wouldn't put this transition here, this dissolve, because it's kind of messing with my video here. But I've committed to it, so I'm staying with it. There we go. Okay, that's good enough. All right, so we just did fast motion, before that slow motion. So we're jamming now. We're getting pretty good here with this iMovie thing. Okay, the next feature I want to show you here is how to do voiceover. And what we're going to do is add a little piece of voiceover to right where the tire is, okay? Nothing too extraordinary, just a piece of audio to show you how to do it. We'll set it up where we want to start it at. You're going to click on this microphone here. And for settings, you can go here. Right now, I have my system settings set to the USB mic, which is the only mic I have connected, so it's good to go. And it's asking me if I want to mute the project while I'm recording, which I do. It also has the volume levels. It looks like I'm clipping a little bit, so I'll drop that down just a little bit. Test, 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 test. Okay, good enough. All right, and when you're ready, just hit this record button. You're going to get a timer, a 3, 2, 1 timer, and then you're going to start recording. This bike has balloon-sized tires, and don't worry, I've already ordered a pair of city slickers to get rid of those. Okay, so we stopped the recording. Our clip was dropped exactly where we started it. Let's make a little room here so we can see it. And you'll see the clip here. It's a little hot, so let's go ahead and lower that down just a little bit. Let me go ahead and play it for you. This bike has balloon-sized tires, and don't worry, Okay, so what I'm going to do is chop off this extra stuff here. So you can either drag it in, or you can do a right click and split it if you want and delete the extra, but we don't need to do that for this one. Let's just drag it in just a little bit. And it's probably good enough at that volume right there where there's only a little bit in the yellow. This bike has balloon-sized tires. Okay, Maybe I'll make it just a little bit touching into the red here. But it depends on the level of your audio as to if these yellow and red actually mean anything. If you have your mic settings really low, then it won't mean much. If you have them high, then it's going to be blown out and distorted. So I'm pretty sure I know my mic well enough that I can actually be a little bit in the red and it'll sound okay. So that's how you do voiceover, and you can do it pretty much anywhere. You just put your scrubber or the tape head thing here, hit the button. Once the 3-second countdown is done, you start recording, you hit stop, and then from there you can actually move this around anywhere, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to stay exactly where it was, but we'll keep it right there. You could fine tune it a little bit. You could chop it up into 2 pieces here, and then space it out a little bit like that if you needed a little dramatic pause. Lots of stuff you could do. Okay, so that's doing voiceover. And when you're finished, just go ahead and hit that done key. And let's go back and make this back to normal size. Go back to our media. Okay, next let's move on to some special effects. They have video effects and they have audio effects. We'll start with the video first. Select your clip. Go to these 3 circles overlapping each other. And it'll have clip filter and audio filter. Hit that button. Go to your video here. And now you can change that to anything you'd like. Let's go to X-ray so we know. Once it's there, it's X-ray. You can go back in there, change it back to none, or you can go to like a hard light or something. Let's do that. There you go, a little bit hard light there. Okay, so you get the idea. You can change it and you can bring it back to no filter by selecting it again and hitting none. And for audio, since we have a little bit of voiceover here, let's go ahead and click on that. Go to audio filter. And you can make yourself get rid of those. And don't worry, I've already ordered a pair of cities pluggers to get rid of those. And don't worry, I've already ordered a pair of city pluggers to get rid of those. And don't worry, I've already ordered a pair of city pluggers to get rid of those. Okay, so you can use your wonderful imaginations and creative abilities and use that in any way you want. But just showing you that that functionality is there to add filters for video and some audio effects on your audio. So enjoy. Next, let's go ahead and look at color correction. So what I'm going to do is just select a video clip here. We're going to go to this palette here, the color correction icon. Click on that. And what you'll have here is the ability to kind of adjust the look and feel. If you hover your mouse over each of these points, it'll tell you what you can do with each. And the next one here is saturation. So you can make it really saturated or black and white basically. Also, you can control the warmth. You can go warm with the orange color or blue with the cold color. Yeah, so warm and cold. This is kind of helpful. Sometimes cameras will accidentally be too cold, so you can kind of add a little bit of warmth to it. But what I like to do is I usually hit the saturation just a little bit to make the grass pop. And then I'll go into here and kind of mess with the look and feel of the highlights and the shadows and things like that to make it the way I'd like it. Yeah, I think that's good enough. But mostly I like to make the grass look green, even though it's not really green here in Austin, Texas. But I want to be optimistic and I want my grass to look super green even though it's not really. This wonderful Bermuda grass we have here in Austin is not that. Okay, so that's color correction. Once you make all your setting changes, you can click anywhere and you're good to go. And you'll notice the grass in this clip is a lot greener than the grass in this clip here. Okay, so let's go ahead and color correct this one a little bit. Go in here, we'll jump on the saturation just a little bit. It's probably all I really need to do here. And we'll look at that one. Yeah, you see it's a lot greener. Looks nicer, let's just say. Okay, so there's one more thing in color correction that I use, a couple more features. If you go to the next icon to the left, the color balance icon, there's a really cool functionality of white balance. And what this does is it allows you to click here, gives you a pointer, and you basically pick the color white on anywhere here, and then it'll adjust the color of your video. It basically white balances the video based on the color that you hit the dropper with. So if you want to off white, it'll change it up a little bit, but that looks pretty good right there. And you can turn it off and on to kind of see what it looks like. And when you're ready to accept it, you hit the check mark. If not, you hit the X. So we'll hit the check mark. I don't really use any of the other things here, but you can with skin tones. It has a dropper as well. You can hit the skin tone. You have a dropper if you have a lot of people in it and pick the skin tone. You can also match colors of one clip to another, which I rarely use. But if you're going to color correct a whole bunch of clips similarly, you pick the color that you like, and then you actually use your dropper to get this to match it to the second color. But I rarely use this functionality. I like to color correct each clip, the way I want it to look like. And if I do a universal correction, it ends up not being the way I want it to be. So I end up going in and doing it manually anyways. But the functionality is there if you'd like to mess around with it. So I'll hit X. Auto, Apple is nice enough to do it for you automatically if you want to. So let's click on here. We'll just hit auto. And then I'll hit reset. So that's what Apple did. Also, you have this magic wand up here that will automatically improve your video and audio quality by just hitting that button. Again, you can toggle it on and off. Not bad, not bad. I'll go ahead and keep it like that. So that's kind of the color correction. What I usually use is the palette here, a little bit of saturation bump, maybe some highlights or some brightness. And then if my video is off, I'll go and do a white balance, and then white balance based on a white somewhere here. Okay, that's pretty much what I do for my color correction. Okay, what's next on the list? Let's do a little bit of audio editing. So we're going to do some audio editing with music in iMovie. I have an MP3 file here. I'm going to drag it down into the timeline. But before I do that, let's have a look down here. If you look at the very bottom, you see a little music note. You can drag your music file down into here. And let me show you that. All the way down to the bottom. Okay, so our music file is in the music bed. You can also drag any audio or music into the timeline itself, right below the clips. And iMovie will let you do a lot. I think I tested up to 55 and then I got bored. So you can do multiple audio tracks down if you'd like to. But of course you don't need that many. But 1, 2, 3 is more than enough. So you can have it in the audio bed, one clip itself. Or you can put below. It really doesn't matter. I prefer not to use the bed because I like it closer to the audio. But it doesn't really matter either way. Okay. So for this example, I'm going to delete this one here. And we'll work in this audio bed here. So let's go ahead and start with the basics here. Firstly, you can go up and down with your volume, up to 400% down to 0. You'll notice that we get yellow and red peaking. So try to keep it at a reasonable level. And of course, you're going to be listening on your speakers or your headphones to get the proper level rate. On the corner here, we have a little tool that allows you to slide it to the right, and it'll automatically fade in based on the length that you slide to the right. And these little sliders will be on the beginning and the end of any audio track in iMovie. So you can fade in or fade out at the beginning or the end of any audio track. Okay, so that's the first thing there. So volume up and down, and fade in, fade out with these little slider things here, these little tools. So next, let's go ahead and split the clip here. We're going to right click and hit split. You can also use Command B, but make sure you're selecting on the actual audio when you're doing this. If not, it's going to split all the way through the clip. Okay, let's do another one down here. And let's space the audio out just a little bit, just to give you an idea what we could do. And again, you'll notice that little slider here is at the beginning and the end of every chunk or every piece of audio once you split it. Very handy little fade thing here. So those are the simple ways to edit. You can fade in, you can fade out, you can control the volume up and down, you can put cuts to put space it. You can split your clips and move them around as necessary. So there's lots of ways you can customize and edit your audio in iMovie. Alright, now I'm going to delete all this audio from the sound bed. And I'm going to pull the music track down into the normal timeline here. Okay, let's go ahead and bump up the size here so you can see it and it's easier for you to watch as I edit. Next, let's move into some more advanced audio editing in iMovie. We're going to grab our MP3 file, drag it into the timeline here, and you'll notice that iMovie automatically reduces the volume in our voiceover area. So that's pretty handy. But if you don't want it to do that, what you're going to do is go over to the speaker icon here, and you're going to click this checkbox. So what that does is it tells iMovie not to duck the audio when there's another piece of audio. Okay, now we're going to do keyframing of audio. So what you're going to need to do is use your mouse and you're going to hold the Option. And you'll notice you'll see a little plus. So we're going to put a couple points before and after. Okay, and now with your mouse you can actually drag down or you can drag up the audio. So very handy here. So we're going to do a manual duct during this voiceover here. And we're going to bring it pretty much all the way down. Okay. Next, if you wanted to do a manual fade in, you could do that as well. Again, hold the Option and you're going to click to add your points. You can do as many points as you want to kind of get that customization you need if you need to go up or down. Very cool, very straightforward. Another way you can do it is hold the R key, make a selection, and then fade down, and it automatically puts those points in for you. You notice it automatically put those keyframes in for you. So that's really a quick way, really fast way to edit video. R key down, scroll with your trackpad or mouse, and then you can go in and just drag up or drag down. Okay, so let's go ahead and undo all this. Now you'll notice this MP3 is very loud. So what I'm going to do initially is just lower down the volume to a more reasonable level. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and put in my keyframe points and kind of show you what I would do for this video. So first I would fade in here like this. Then during this point here, I would hold down the R key and just kind of drag a little bit before, a little bit after. Then I'd lower the volume. I might not go all the way down. Maybe I want to hear a little bit of that audio in the background. If there was another area where I knew I was going to do voiceover, I'd put some more points here, some more keyframes. And I probably would near the seat because I would complain how uncomfortable it was. Drop that down. Then, go throughout. Maybe there's a cough or maybe there's a low area. So what I do is put a couple before, a couple after. If this was a little low and I wanted it higher, maybe I'd want to kind of match that sound out. You can also move these points in as you need to. Kind of get a little bit custom with them. If you need, put some more in there. You can make like a point kind of thing. So it's really customizable the way you can do it. The next piece of functionality I want to demonstrate is how to do a freeze frame. So in this situation, what you're going to do is go through your clip here, and there's something you kind of want to stop and draw the viewer's attention to. It's called a freeze frame. So what we're going to do is find where we want it to be. You're going to right click and you're going to go down to add freeze frame. What iMovie is going to do is it's going to put a little section here where it stops the video. So you have normal speed, it stops, and then it comes back. And once you do that, you can actually control the length of that freeze frame. So let's look at it now. Then it froze. And now it's back. Okay. So depending on how long you want that little freeze section to be, you can actually control that by these little sliders here. So let's make our freeze a little bit shorter. And you can customize exactly where it freezes at and for how long. Here we go. Okay, maybe that's a bit too short, so let's expand that out. That's probably good enough here. There you go, and that's how you do a freeze frame. Now if you wanted to spice it up a little bit, you can make it short. And I would go to audio, I'd go to camera, and I would grab that sound effect right there, drag it down, maybe lower the volume just a little bit. There you go. That's something I would do to draw attention to a freeze frame. Add that little camera sound, and the viewer would know, hey, there's something here I should be paying attention to. So it's kind of a cool little edit you could do. Okay, now let's have a look at backgrounds, and I'll show you how I usually use them. The first thing I'm going to do is kind of use the underwater one. It has a little bit of motion in it. So we'll drag this down here. We'll make it a little bit longer. And let me go ahead and shorten this up so you can see better. Okay, so now we have a background that has a little bit of underwater kind of light shadow movement. So what I like to do is I like to grab a piece of video and put it on top. Of course, I don't have anything that really matches it, but let's just grab whatever we have. and I'm going to put it on top. I'm going to double click. I'm going to go to the overlay tool. I'm going to go to picture in a picture, and I'm going to actually put this right smack in the middle. There we go. And put a little border on it, maybe even a thicker border. I'm going to move it around. I put a border on it. I'm going to see how it looks. Let's go ahead and take a look. So this clip still has audio in it, and I could turn it down by going up and down, but also if I right click on it and I detach audio, it appears down here, and I can either move that or just delete it altogether, which I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and delete. So now we have a video clip with 0 audio. So currently this video has a fade in. I'm going to take that fade in out, and I'm actually going to have it start exactly when that background starts. All right, let's try it with another background just to give you another idea of what it'll look like. Go here. I like to go to the stars. So let me just copy this video here, Control C, then I'll Control V over here. So we have the exact same video. Okay, have a look at that second example here. I'm gonna have to go back in here and change the color to probably yellow or white or something you can see better. Yellow didn't look bad actually. Okay, let's have a look at that. Okay, let's try to be a little bit more creative and make it look a little bit better. How about that? Something like that. Let's accept it and see what it looks like. Okay, not too bad. But you get the general idea how you can use backgrounds with video, with pictures, with text, and make something kind of unique and interesting. Let's have some fun with reversing video. Okay, here I have a clip, and let's play it real quick. What I'm going to do here is actually make a copy of that. So I'll do a right click, copy. Next I'll do a Command V, or you can do an edit and paste. So we have the same clip here going forward. And now what we're going to do is reverse this second clip. So you're going to select the clip, you're going to click on the speedometer here. You're going to check the reverse button. And what that's going to do is iMovie will reverse that video for you. So let's look here, going down, going up. Alrighty, you are now at the end of your video edit, and you want to share it with the world or to your family, or just put it on a drive. And we're going to go ahead and do that. First thing you're going to do is go to the top right corner, and you're going to click on the share icon here. Now the only sharing functionality I use personally is file right here. What this does is it allows me to export my movie after it's rendered to my desktop or any location I want on my computer. After that, I'll do the uploading to YouTube, Instagram, send it to my friends, put it on Facebook, whatever. But I like to have complete control. So let's go ahead and get to this. First thing you're going to do is actually name it. We're going to call this My GT. You can put a description here if you want. Bike video. You can put tags. Next, you're going to select the format. Usually it's going to be video and audio, but there is the option to actually export only audio. So if there was a video file and you wanted to get that audio out of it, you can actually do that. But for this tutorial, let's just do video and audio. Resolution, I usually export it to the max, but there might be some situations where you want a smaller video. But for me, in this video here, we're going to go 1080p, 60 frames per second. Quality, I always do high. If you go any higher, you start to get really large file size, but high is good enough for me. For compressor, I always use better quality. Then you're going to hit next. Next, you're going to choose where you want to put it. Let's put it on our desktop, and we'll hit save. And if you look at the right corner, you have a pie chart telling you the progress. And we're done. So I usually hit close, and then I'll go look at the video myself on the desktop. Okay, well that's it for the tutorial. I want to thank everybody for watching, and if you have any questions, just go ahead and put those in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell because I'm always pushing new tutorials. Peace and aloha.